Today, I get to visit with Cecile Oviedo. She goes by Z, which I love because, of course, I go by T. And we kept running into each other. You would think in a space of 500 people, you would know everybody, but you don't. And we would see each other at the airport. She, of course, is also in DFW. What really intrigued me is that she owns a construction company. And if you don't realize this, there are less than 13% of all construction companies across the country are owned by women. So we're going to get a chance to actually talk with Z on that as well. So help me welcome to the podcast, Z. Welcome, welcome.
Hey, Tanya, thank you so much for having me on.
Of course. So for the people who are watching and meeting you for the first time, tell us a little bit about who Cecile, see, I still struggle with it because I always call you Z, Oviedo is.
Well, Tanya, I'm a mom, I'm a partner, I'm a business owner, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Those are like the top things, of course. Family is so important to me, and it's the big why, the driver behind everything that I do and what we're
Yeah.
building. But yeah, in a nutshell, that's me. Real estate investor as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when people hear construction or contracting in real estate, they may picture the project first. How did this world become part of your story?
Man, I started in construction, I want to say 15, almost 20 years ago.
Okay.
And it was working in the like on the service side or first on phones, operations background, administrative roles. But it was pretty much a move the curtain to the side and see the inner workings of certain operations. And some were very successful, but it also along the way, just being Latina, that especially out here in Texas, the majority of that workforce is Hispanic, and seeing how they were maybe treated like very, very highly skilled workers were just treated like they were just the mud on the bottom of the owner's boots, essentially. And I remember just kind of having this list of things like, if one day I have the opportunity to maybe start my own company and it
Yeah.
be in construction, this is I have a long list of things that I wouldn't do, from
Sure.
the examples set. And that slowly, like I said, I was in construction and just doing that back stuff, back end side of things. And then it was just, hey, I think it was December of 2020 that sat down with our previous business partners. We ended up buying out, and just, hey, let's see what it would be like. Let's do it just kind of a part-time basis. And that
Sure.
that led to almost 6 years down the road. We're 5.5 years in, and it just has just taken off.
Well, and you've done some pretty big projects I want to touch on. Before that, though, it, I mean, you don't think of people just go landing in construction. So how did you, even in operations or administrative way, how did construction kind of come into your path?
Man, growing up, I was always working in the wood shop with my dad. Like, I was
Okay.
taking apart things. Like, I often say I miss my calling as an engineer because my
Mhm.
mind just thinks in that way. Like, I'm very handy naturally, and thanks to my dad, always just like, hey, come on, pull up a chair, come get close, look at how this, and look at these angles when he was building stuff in a, like woodworking and that stuff. So that I feel just came naturally to me.
Okay.
And then in pursuing and then just, stepping into the shoes of a business owner within construction, my technical skills, and obviously the majority of the stuff that we do is commercial work. It
Yeah.
just naturally has just come up.
Yeah. So what are some big projects that you've done recently that people might have driven by or be aware of?
Well, the projects that I'm most proud of, we have the opportunity, the majority of the work we do, we partner with general contractors. So we come in as a subcontractor for them. One of our customers, they specialize in historic restorations, specifically
Mhm.
courthouses. So we had the opportunity to work on the Wise County Courthouse in Decatur.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was just, it's one of those things. Like, I'm also, thanks to my mom, a fanatic of antiques. So when I get to walk into an old building that was built in the early 1900s, like it's like they're old. That's
Yeah.
really, really cool to walk in, see the old, almost card catalog systems. Like, it really is a lot of old stuff. You get to walk in, and then also at the end of the project, walk through those finished halls of a restored restoration
Yeah.
project. So we've had the opportunity to work on that one out in Memphis, Texas, the Hall County Courthouse, and out in Clarendon, Texas, the Donley County Courthouse. So those, and then the other project is there's a grade school out in Atlanta, Texas. That is, it just is so cool to get to have walked through those halls and see the transformation. That's something that it's such an honor to be a part of those projects, because I know what it means to the people within the communities that live there, that have lived there maybe their whole lives, seeing, you know, remembering as little kids walking with their parents through some of those hallways, and then getting to be in their older age now saying it's so, you know, this means so much to us that you guys are doing this. So that's
One, I
really,
didn't know there was a Memphis, Texas. I didn't know there
yeah,
was an Atlanta, Texas.
yeah.
Like, how is that even why couldn't they have been a little bit more original?
Exactly. Yeah,
Pick your own
exactly.
cities. Bloody
Exactly.
hell.
Yeah.
Which direction are those? Like North Texas?
So Atlanta is over by Texarkana, and
Okay.
Memphis, Texas is it's like southeast of Amarillo. So
Southeast. Okay.
it's definitely like 287. You take that all the way up, and it's all through the little sleepy one stoplight towns. You get all the way out. It's definitely not a scenic drive,
Yeah.
but but it is, yeah.
Those are extensive projects and a trek from where you live.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
So how long
definitely.
did, like, on average, how long do projects like that take? And then what's the game plan for that?
Yeah, I mean, the Decatur courthouse, that one went on for about 3 years.
Hmm.
And for us, what we specialize is metal framing, insulation, and sheetrock. That's we do a lot more, but for this specific customer, that's what we
Right.
focus on.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of just the planning and mobilization of, okay, we're going to go out and we'll be out there for a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time. And this is, you know, it takes a lot of just the logistics planning, of course, and figuring out where material gets stored, because it's a historic space. You can't, like, so many moving parts to it. And it's also, I mean, because most of the contractors are coming from the DFW area, that it all has to be this, like, I don't envy the general contractor's role and having to just, where does everybody go? How do we
Right.
ensure that this stays on time? And they're dealing with the end customer, and for us, yeah. So it takes a while.
Well, but that leads to what I was thinking about too. So if you're doing sheetrock, it means that you've opened up the walls in these buildings. Yes?
Well, we don't do the demo, and due to the historic nature of them, there has
Yeah.
to be, you know, with the lead and asbestos and that kind of
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
there's a designated team that handles that. We
Got it.
do, you know, if we were remodeling an office in a commercial space and they want to take
Right.
down some walls and build them, we'll demo that. But in this historical, I always say we're not the contractor that's just going to say yes to just, hey, we can demo, and
Right.
then land you in hot water or delay your project due to things that we're not qualified to do.
Yeah. I was just
Mhm.
thinking, I wonder what crazy stuff has been found.
Trying to think. I know there's been like old beer cans and old soda cans in the walls. Like that was
Yeah.
something that like somebody brought up at some point. Like I told you, like the old filing systems, or the old there was another project that they didn't end up winning, so we didn't get that contract awarded, but it had, I mean, it was just really, really neat. Like the old, just a lot of just old relics, artifacts,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff that you're just like, is anybody gonna, if you guys are gonna throw that away, can one of us take it or
Yeah.
something? You know, it's just so fascinating to get to be there and be a part of
Yeah.
that.
So what projects do you have going on currently?
Um, Currently that
That you can share,
Atlanta,
of course.
yeah, that Atlanta historic, that grade school is ongoing. A couple of those courthouses are ongoing just because they are multiple year-long processes.
Hmm.
Um, we have a optical, yeah, optometrist office. We're gearing up to do a couple other just small little retail spaces at the moment, and then some big warehouse flex spaces with a developer. Those are kind of the upcoming projects.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, now tell us about the point where this became more than work you were doing and started becoming something you were building. 'Cause-
I think that kind of like I said, we started January 2021, and the intention initially was let's get proof of concept. At the time when we started it, it was actually my cousin and her husband that were our business partners. They were boots on the ground here in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and we were actually living in Colorado when we started the
Oh,
company. And it was a very like, okay, we're going to do this part time. I'll project manage, I'll do the estimating remotely.
yeah,
And then my cousin's husband was just, boots on the ground out here. And it was small little residential things. And then I get a call. I want to say it was like August of 2021. It was this guy. I to this day still call him Jeff the Angel. I have no idea how he got my number, where he came from. But he pretty much called and he said, hey, I have an SEO funnel, a marketing funnel that I've set up for a drywall company that I was a part of. The owner no longer wants to be doing that, but I've worked so hard in building this. Would you mind? Would it, if I showed value, if we could work together and, we reassess in 6 months,
yeah,
let's see what an actual like a contract. And yeah, and like I said, to this day, he doesn't remember where he got, my information, but it
yeah.
pretty much, we went from 80,000 in revenue year one to 1.2 million in year two. We over 10x'd because of Jeff the Angel.
Yeah,
Like the doors that got opened, the relationships, the people and the paths, that were aligned right there with us. That is where it turned into, you know, and then not only that, because of course, if you don't have the infrastructure for the company, when the floodgates open,
yeah,
and you can't show up and do the job right, you're either gonna you're gonna soar or you're gonna fail,
sure.
and you're gonna mess up that funnel essentially of you're gonna start gaining that reputation of that's the company that actually doesn't answer the phone and doesn't
Mm,
perform. So it was just pretty much, we need to rise to the occasion. And, a conversation that you and I had at one point was talking about, you know, that it's, God's will or
yeah,
the path that you're supposed to be on if it's fruitful. And that's something that has stuck with me on one of the many conversations that you and I have had. And that is definitely right there was we have to keep going. We have to keep going because
yeah,
this is not our doing. This is not my doing. This is us putting one foot in front of the other and showing up. And it's not this, it's not this woo woo thing, but it is a faith thing. I'm going to show up every single day, put one foot in front of the other. And and in doing that, we built the relationships, we stuck to our core values, and we performed when we needed to. And any
yeah.
hiccup was a learning opportunity for me. I've always seen it like that
Great way
since
to
day
look at
one. We don't
it. Yeah,
get bogged down on the negative thing. What is the training opportunity here? What is the learning opportunity here? And how do we ensure that that's applied moving forward? And it was those like just that all of that stuff that led to this is a scalable enterprise. And how do we
yeah,
ensure too that year two was not a fluke? How do we ensure? And we were able to every year scale higher and higher. And right there, the proof of concept was made.
yeah. Take us through a little bit of the transition though from that year one at 80,000 to over seven figures in year two. That I mean, you wouldn't have had the infrastructure,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
so there goes my dog. Told you unedited.
It's okay.
I just
Uh,
saw a squirrel.
no, uh, no. Well, for us, so I can't remember. I think it was February of 2021 that the big ice storm hit out here.
Yes.
And it created, I think it was a lot of like insurance claims and because pipes burst in areas. I mean, there were so many commercial buildings within the DFW area that had, you had to go through and do the 2 foot flood cut,
Yeah.
sometimes even higher, depending on the actual damage inflicted by that heavy freeze. That I just don't think the DFW area is prepared, like, like places where it does get cold. So that that with the lead funnel put us in a position for a project at West Dallas Community Church. And it was
Mhm.
their big church building, the big sanctuary building. They had a gym and then they had an outreach building. And that project was, I think, combined like just like four to $500,000. And that
Mhm.
was one of those, like it was the trades and things that like the scopes of work that we knew what to do. It was
Right.
coming in, let's reinstall insulation, let's finish the sheetrock to match, patch all that flood cut,
Yeah.
repaint the entire thing, change out some of the, or I think the majority of the acoustical ceilings because the ceiling or the roof had a lot of leaks. Um, but with that, I mean, we've had, you know, I think going back to relationships, with me, I started go contracting, and I've said it before to take the con out of contracting, but also going back to the why of why I started the company of seeing the crews being treated like they were nothing. Well, I tell my teams, without you guys, we're nothing. I can go get all the business, but without you guys showing up and doing what you do best, like like you're the motor to this company
Right.
or to the business. So through the relationships built, it became, you gain that respect and that credibility, and they know that they're respected and valued. So they're like, hey, I can absolutely grow this team to 20 people to keep up with that. So we were
Right.
able to successfully, like that was a leap and the net will appear and the net appeared.
Wow.
And we were able to get that project done. It looked beautiful afterwards. The church leadership was so happy with the finished product, and we were a small piece of that product. There was mechanical, electrical, plumbing, flooring, all that we didn't do or touch. We just our specialty is our specialty. Um, but yeah, it's the relationships.
Well, and I want to talk a little bit more in depth about when you talk about how you treat, right, your crew.
Mhm.
When you launched it though, you said you started part-time. So what were you doing the other part of the time?
I mean part time in like I'm like I was a commercial photographer, so to answer that, so I had
Okay.
pretty much I had just my own clients, I was doing my own thing, but it was very like part-time in the sense of let's just kind of see what small projects we can do. Let's kind of get proof of concept. Let's start building the teams. Because
Yeah.
also part of building the teams is inevitably, I think any business owner, you can hire the right people or you learn that you maybe hired the wrong people. And then getting aligned on core values, because it's not just internally within the company that the core values have to align, right people, right seats. It's
Yeah.
also that field team, of how are they representing? Do they take pride in the work that they do, or are they there to, I'm here to hang sheetrock. That stud was out of line. I don't care. I'm not bringing it up to anybody. I put sheetrock and I'm out. Where's my pay?
Mhm.
There's a lot of people that do operate that way,
Sure.
and it is okay, in for some operations. But that gave us that time to ensure that the cart was not before the horse, of like, let's be slow, let's just see, because also my cousin's husband, he had a full-time job as a superintendent for a flooring company out here. So
Mhm.
it was we'll do these things on the weekend. So that's kind of what I mean by part-time. Let's kind of go slow and not get in over our head.
I gotcha. Now,
Mhm.
I personally having some stuff done on our house a few couple years back. The GC, it seemed like he couldn't keep people. So
Yeah.
one person was doing tile at one point, and then it was somebody else.
Hmm.
What are your core values? You've mentioned them a couple times. So what are your core values that also relate to how you treat your crews?
uh Clear and consistent communication,
Mhm.
accountability.
Yeah.
We go the extra mile. The company's called Go Contracting, so we go the extra mile, and
Yeah.
ownership mentality. That is something that's just how I operate in life. So it was easy when I have a business coach, and we had to come up with these, and I was like, well, that's easy. That's easy, because these are the things that are so important. And then you slowly find team members that align with that. Um, and then and with the field too, there have definitely been those that don't align, which, like I said earlier about the hanging sheetrock, or just not showing up when they say they're going to show up. There's leading indicators that give us that, maybe we should keep an eye on this person. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things, you do an awesome job. I mean, oh, and then sorry, the other core values, like treating each other like family, whether it's customers or within our teams. And with that, it's, if you come on, I'm going to fight for you with every customer. I will have your back.
Yeah.
We're going to make sure that you get taken care of. We're not a contractor that waits to pay our team until we get paid. I pay every Friday. So there's those kinds of things of just like, hey, this is what we bring to the table, and you bring your awesome technical skill.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to show up, or you want to show up and give the excuse that, oh, I had a couple too many beers yesterday, well, then this is just not the place for you, man. Like there may be many of other contractors that are happy with that. Um, and we as business owners have to be okay with drawing that line. Like if you don't want it for yourself, all my wanting it for you isn't going to change that for you.
Right.
So
What's the vision for Go Contracting? Like, what's the vision?
I'd love for it. I'd love to have a solid leadership team that's handling the day to day. I don't want a
Mhm.
big corporation. Like that's what my partner and I, we don't want a big corporation that has, hundreds of people, because if we can get to where we are with a small in-house team right now, just having the right people in the right seats that allow me to kind of step out of the day to day, work
Yeah.
more on the business instead of in the business.
Yeah.
But I've found through it too that there's certain things that I like, when you start assessing, what are the things that you like to do that bring money? What are things you like to do but don't bring money? And you start, you do that. For
Yeah.
me, I love being first on phones. And it's because the majority of the time that calls come in, it's general contractors or their lead estimators that are wanting to talk shop. And I just love that. I love
Sure.
that. And I know that we've gotten a lot of feedback of like, hey, because of that first conversation, that's why we want to work with you guys. So I do, it'd be great to be like just a well-oiled machine, and then maybe can like build a residential arm that is completely operating for our real estate investments,
Yeah.
because we can do that. And then that one, it's for that generational side of stuff for us, and like building that legacy. But also, while we're not busy with the big commercial projects, I'd love to tell my teams, hey, you don't have to go look for work at XYZ or anywhere else. Hop on these houses, go
Yeah.
work on that stuff. And that, that money's coming in, food's on your family's table. This is like, it's the family thing. I got to I treat them like family.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good. Now, the besides in construction, what has construction taught you about people, trust, and follow through?
That not a lot of people follow through, but that's not something that I focus on. That's something that there's many successful, I mean, we're in Texas, things are booming out here. There's
Yeah.
so much competition, but the difference between the standard that's out there and showing up when you say you're going to show up, and calling back, even if the answer is, unfortunately, we can't help you on this project, keep us in mind for the next one.
Right.
Like that is the difference. That's the difference, that you go from everybody's operating here,
Yeah.
and everybody keeps a dirty job site, and fine, it can be clean, or there's certain people that like, hey, it's completely acceptable to leave your Gatorade bottles in the walls that you close up because it's going to be closed up. Well, for us to say that's absolutely unacceptable. And the amount of times that I've had to tell some crews that we're testing out of, maybe you do that somewhere else, but that's actually not going to fly over here because this is a standard that we operate at.
Yeah.
It seems like a common sense, like differentiator. Like, yeah, like why would you leave your trash everywhere? But the more common standard is that that's okay. Nobody's going to see in there, like that. So yeah, I mean, sticking to the core values, right?
Well, that falls in line with one of my favorite sayings I had in my office for years on a big plaque, and it was and for this year specifically, countless unseen details make the difference between mediocre and magnificent.
That's right. That's so true.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Granted, no one's going to find a Gatorade bottle on one of your jobs 100
Yeah.
years from
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. But it's, I mean, it's small things that, yeah, that separate, just we show up when we say we're going to show up. We call and we communicate. It's clear and consistent communication as one of our core values. And
Yeah.
that just means I would much rather us do the proper follow up than be the one. If the general contractor has 10 to 15 to 20 different subs that they're dealing with and they're
Yeah.
chasing after everybody else, what how can we improve that experience? And it's just, hey, let's just do a follow up at the end of the week. Or we do end of week summary reports where my project manager will just
Nice.
type up, hey, what was completed this week, what's pending for next week, any decisions that we're waiting from. And it's a form that I built in AI that he fills it out and it automatically creates a PDF, launches it over to them, and they have a quick summary of our scope so
Yeah.
that they're not having to chase things because they got plenty of reporting that they have to do for their organization. So just going the extra mile and setting ourselves apart.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about that, taking the con
Hmm.
out of contracting. Where did that conviction come from?
Ooh, the amount of conversations, kind of going back to being first on phones, of conversations where people would say, hey, we've awarded the project to you. I saw like, it's a $300,000 project and you need to do a mobilization, like a deposit at the front end. And some saying like, hey, would you mind if, you show up to the job, get the material on site, work a couple days. Would it be okay if I paid you then? Because I've had a couple experiences where I fronted the $20,000 and people didn't show up. Or, or homeowners that said the same thing, where somebody comes in, there's a $5,000 deposit and it's to start the demo. And then the team comes in and demos everything for 2 days. And then day 3, nobody shows up, nobody's answering the phone. And the customer definitely didn't have $5,000 worth of work completed. And now they're stuck, so it was out of that, of kind of seeing and hearing that.
Yeah.
And then also we live like Texas is not like, you do not need a license to be a general contractor here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's many states that do need licensing,
Right.
but to be a, HVAC, plumbing, and electrical, of course, there's a licensing board in Texas that does do that. But for going in, demoing, building walls, any of that kind of stuff, I mean, any you can start your LLC, screw people over, get a bad reputation, close that down, start another LLC, and it just doesn't matter
Mm.
because there's no licensing. There's nothing. I mean, I say often, I mean, we live in the wild, we're in the Wild West out here.
Yeah.
But, the way that I see that, I think some people are like, that's fine. We can screw up. We'll make some money. We'll close it down. I don't know how those people sleep at night.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, and if somebody does enough research, you can actually see the names, like everything is public records as far as who owns the LLCs. But for us, for me and for us, it was like, I'm always going to go. We live and die by our core values. So when you're aligned with those core values and you're living them day in and day out, like why wouldn't you? For me as the owner, I have those conversations and the customers asking like, hey, do you mind if I hold that 10,000 until day 3 that you guys are there? Absolutely. Absolutely. For me, it's important to let's have the conversation. We'll show up
Yeah.
and show you what we can do. We'll show you that we're committed to getting this job done right and that we're not going to be the stressor on your project. And then the money, that it gets paid and they're
Yeah.
happy and they feel trust and we can show up and build that trust for them and hopefully change that reputation. Um, so that's really where it came. Like take the con out of contracting because I'm not saying everybody does it, but it's out there. It's frequent
Oh,
enough.
yeah. We dealt with it. We
Mhm.
had a great contractor we had used. Now, here's a little bit of a story on it. Had
Yeah.
a great contractor we had used for some smaller projects, had a slab leak.
Mm.
in 24 that ended up being our entire house had to be repiped through the attic, which meant, as you know, all our walls are open,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my gosh.
So we had that contractor and started out well, but then by the time it was all said and done, he was trying to like add additional fees for things, and it got sideways, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
the ironically, I didn't notice where he cut corners on our flooring
Mm.
until after he was gone and done and like not even in Texas anymore.
Yeah.
And now I'm having to have somebody come in and redo floors not 2 years later.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I
It's that
what do you
stuff.
think it is that causes, because again, let's say he was really good. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking about people I know personally that
Mhm.
at one time were really good
Yeah.
contractors and then just lost their crap and then flew the coop. What do you think it is? There a common theme? Is there a dynamic in the business itself that might drive people to that?
Uh, I think a couple things. I think that there's situations where maybe projects get, are underbid, because
Mm,
that's certainly, I mean, the competition, it's
yeah,
real. You
yeah,
get underbid often, and
yeah,
for, some GCs, you go with the lowest one, you're most likely, if you get 5 quotes, let's say, and then
right,
you got the highest, the three in the middle are around the same, but these top four are around the same, and then you get this outlier that's super, super low. Well, I mean, if you're a smart GC, you're like, this guy must be missing something, and that is change order after change order after change order, and begging and issues, and they're not going to complete their stuff. So you want to go, maybe you don't want to go with the highest, or you figure something like that. But those low baller, the low balling guys,
yeah,
like, I think that they end up realizing that, hey, I didn't have enough money in the job for the material. I didn't have enough money in the labor. And then that's why, like you said earlier, hey, when somebody was doing tile on the, and then they had a second tile installer, and
yeah,
it's like, okay, well, you didn't have the proper conversations on the front end to set expectations on what the actual scope of work was, and somebody gets going on it, and maybe more than what was talked about was actually needing to be done. And then
yeah,
somebody's like, hey man, I know you don't have the money in it. That happens. I think it's a lot of people underestimate the amount of like logistics and planning and coordination that has to happen. For me, I've been told often that I'm like an octopus, that it's like all the different plates spinning, and I know I don't know. It's a gift. I'm grateful for it, but I'm able to just, everything is on my radar. Like, I have
sure,
built a command center that I'm like, not only my to-do list, but I have my project manager's to-do list. Like, hey, remember these things, and I'll
yeah,
delegate it. And sometimes it's not, it's like, hey, but did you remember this? Oh, I was so busy with this over here. So, but I think also in the coordination of things that it becomes, I didn't talk to my tile guy in time, and now he's on a 3-week project, and that timeline doesn't align with over here. Oh crap, I'm in over my head. And maybe pride kind of gets in the way of like, do I want to admit if I messed up, or is it easier to just kind of walk away, and it doesn't matter what I've created, what fires I've created for people. I have my money or my pride, and I'm gonna
yeah,
run.
mm, yeah. Like I know too, Z, that literally left the country. I'm
Oh
like,
wow. Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
madness. I, something you said in there, I think is important for people watching to hone in on. By nature, a lot of consumers are taught to take the lowest bid. Our government,
Mhm.
right, don't they take the lowest bid?
Yeah.
If they're bidding projects, because I know like if it's a government project, they have to do blind bids. They don't get to see everyone else's.
Mhm.
And I think they choose the lowest bid.
Yeah, probably. It is interesting. And some people can do that. I mean, like right now, especially for what we do a lot of metal framing. Steel, because of the war and the market volatility. I mean, in almost 6 years of doing this, I've never seen steel prices going up. They went up 10% in beginning July 1, and
Hmm.
then they went up another 10% just within this last week.
Oh,
So
wow.
20% over the span of 60 days is wild to me. And
Yeah.
we've been putting out some proposals where those proposals, like, we're like, hey, your price was really competitive, but somebody came in lower, and I'm like, how is that possible? Or do they have just leftover metal, studs and track in their warehouse, in their personal
Oh,
inventory, that's allowing them to be more competitive because they bought it cheaper and they can offload it cheaper?
yeah.
But we don't have that. I mean, we have some inventory, but not enough to, like, really, like because of the market volatility, because of increasing material prices, I have
Sure.
to also adjust where are we landing profit margin wise, where in the healthy years, like when profit margin was healthy, we could hit 30-40% profit margin. Now it's like sub 20, just to even
Mhm.
be a competitive, just to be like, hey, let's get into further negotiations and talks of what can be included and what savings can happen. um, but it's definitely different this year for sure.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Mhm.
Now, the what do people underestimate about the operational side of getting a project from estimate to closeout?
I mean, I think, we kind of touched on it on the organizational side. It definitely, like, there's that attention to detail, even on the front end, making sure that you're catching things, and every architectural plan set is different.
Hmm.
Different architects do different things. Sometimes they copy and paste and have 20 different wall types when the project only calls for two separate wall types and assemblies. And it's like attention to detail on the front end. And when you're in construction, yes, there's many people. I had a customer tell us once, hey, in construction, there's broad stroke people that can walk into a room and say, hey, everything looks great in here. And then there's detailed people that are come in, and then they, with blue tape, punch list everything of all these things. Neither is better or worse. The world needs both, you know? But on that front end, the broad stroke people, I think, are those sometimes that tend to underbid, or maybe
Yeah.
not think of those small details. So that's just on the planning side. And then the project gets awarded, and then the logistics and the planning and the scheduling of, where are my teams if they're not 100% in house? How do I ensure that I'm not double booking them? And if that's the case and they're busy and tied up on something for 2 months, then, hey, which teams are we going to allocate to this project? And if it has to be multiple teams, because some of our teams do from framing to painting of the walls, so they'll close up everything. Others just hang the sheetrock, and then we have to bring our finishing crew to come in and finish the walls and paint them. So there's that. And then through the life of the project, because we're working on commercial projects and even just residential things, it comes down to communication, um, making sure that you're showing up when you say you're going to show up. And if you're not, I firmly believe that even if you have bad news, or hey, a delay's happened, the amount of continued work that we've gotten, or solidified further relationships with customers, has actually come out of conversations that were the difficult ones to have.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes people don't want to have those conversations, and it goes a long way to have the tough conversation. You're not going to like what I have to say, and it's for XYZ, but I'm not just calling you with the problem. We've already found a solution. It will cause this amount of delay,
Yeah.
and let's move forward. And the conversation actually ends with gratitude, and we're a team, and it's a partnership, instead of,
Yeah.
you're our customer, we're your sub, and that's that, and everything is just transactional. It's that relationship building. So when you stick to that, and then you get the project done, and for me, I'm big, like, we will go the extra mile. But I think in any industry, if you don't kind of hold the professional boundary and the line, at
Mhm.
what point you give an inch and they take a mile, 10 miles, like, where's
Yeah.
the line to also protect our bottom line, our
Yeah.
team from going out and doing things that, that wasn't in our scope of work. We've done XYZ free things. We have to figure out and negotiate. Can you at least cover the flat labor and materials? And now let's get it to the end, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of all of that. I think maybe I feel a lot of people in the industry and a lot of the successful companies have figured that out. But I
Mhm.
think that there's, because of the Wild West and starting and, oh, I can do it. If so and so can do it, I can do it. And here's a estimate on a napkin and that you can hold me to that. And it's like, hold on, there's still so much more to it. And then that's not even talking about just the taxes and insurance that you have to have just to make sure
Yeah.
that you're covered and protected and protecting the end user, not
Yeah.
just yourself and your team. So I think it's all of that.
How would you suggest, so business owner or even somebody with their personal residence, right?
Mhm.
How would you suggest they quality control? Because your work, your business is very focused, right?
Mhm.
It's the
Yeah.
steel, the structure, the sheetrock, and it sounds like paint, like you finish it out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Interior finish outs. Yes.
How would you suggest that when they've hired somebody that they quality control it? Like how would you check it if you were going in to make sure it was what it was supposed to be?
Like the end product, you mean?
Hmm.
Or phases? Ooh, I'm not. No, I've never thought about that. Because I know that I think I'm gonna think
Because you
differently.
just do it.
I just do it. It just comes now. Exactly. So like I would say like don't be afraid to ask the questions. A proper like a contractor that does good business isn't going to be, oh, I can't believe you're questioning my integrity. Like if they're going to react like that,
Mhm.
then I mean, that
That
reaction is
tells you a lot.
probably, yeah, it tells you a lot on that end, but you've already
Yeah.
had so many other interactions from your very first interaction that, it's a leading indicator. What are the leading indicators along the way that when you ask questions on the beginning part of your project where you met with frustration or avoidance or any of that, and still because, hey, I don't want to be living with holes in my wall and I need some contractor to do it, so let me just say yes to the first guy that answers, because also a lot of people don't answer or call
Right.
back.
Right.
And so it's kind of paying attention to that. Like we have a VA that's answering phones for us, and I've told him, in our, just to, even when you talk about your ideal client profile, on those initial calls, if you miss something and you need to call back for an email and they're, oh God, like I already talked to you, that, like I think that that's a leading indicator. Like if you're going to talk to us like that and we're simply just getting information that's actually going to get our proposal to you in your inbox,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe they're having a, we're not going to, it's not a personal thing. It's just, let's observe. And is this going to create bigger issues down the road? So just in the reverse way for the end user, how are your questions being answered? And anybody who's doing business the right way would be happy. Like I'd be happy to explain anything. Or let's look at it
Mhm.
together. Let's figure this stuff out. And my team knows and does the same thing. Mm,
Yeah.
so,
Well, I want to get a little personal.
okay.
So you're building A3 Creative Partners with Jennifer.
Mhm.
Tell us how that vision started.
Yeah. So my dad is retired and he worked three jobs my entire life, or my entire childhood. Um, Always busting his butt just to, provide for us. And then he gets to retirement age. And, I would say there's, financial literacy plays a part. I'm first generation born here in the States. Both of my parents are born in Mexico, that they weren't taught how to manage their finances and money. I wasn't taught that, growing up. So he, such a hardworking man lands in a position where the Social Security benefits from working his entire life are not even enough to cover the rent, in a one bedroom or even a studio apartment here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And maybe it would cover in an area that I wouldn't feel comfortable for my dad to
Yeah.
be living in. And he wants to be closer to like us, his grandchildren, my sister and her kids. So
Yeah.
seeing that, it was one of those, and that one, seeing that. And then after my dad retired, he got really ill. He woke up one morning. It was actually Halloween morning of 2022, and he couldn't walk. And it turned into he had a staph infection, like through long, like in and out of hospitals, staph infection um, in his blood, or what was it? I can't even remember. It was just some type of. He was pretty much immobile, had to be in a wheelchair. He was bound to a wheelchair. I was his caregiver. I was doing antibiotics through his midline, all this kind of stuff, and watching him go from an independent walking 15,000 steps a day. I can go wherever I want. I got my relationships with my kids. And then you could see, like he just the deflating of like, I'm now dependent on my daughter. 20 years prior than I thought I would ever have to be dependent on
Yeah.
my daughter. So it was this whole like watching in real time my dad losing his dignity or feeling that like it was he sank into this depression, and then thankfully, thank God, he's healed, he's walking and everything is good.
Oh,
But just
yeah.
even on the backside, it was like, okay, that was front row seat to watch the man who's always gone above and beyond and done everything,
Yeah.
everything. He's the servant's heart, giving in every way possible. And then not even being able to, like, when he was done here, he was like, I'm so grateful that you open your home to me, but I gotta go. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be like locked down. I want my independence. And it was like, and it was so funny, the role reversal of like, I'm telling my dad, like, just spread your wings and fly. Like I can only imagine as soon as a mom is a empty
Yeah.
nester, what ends up happening of like, okay, hope everything's okay. But seeing that, that's knowing that that there's the co-living models that are like, oh well, that'd be affordable living. But for my dad, I know he doesn't want a roommate situation,
Yeah.
and he still wants to preserve like that dignity. Well, he's not the only person out there that's in his shoes. So
Yeah.
that's where that was actually it was a very personal why of seeing that within him and trying to find a situation where if we find a single family home and it has an ADU in the back, then we can rent the single family home and he can kind of manage the property, but he has his own space in that ADU in the back, or
Yeah.
anything like, or hey, let's do a tiny home community. Just like there's these dreams and goals of what we want to do. And it was all birthed off of that of, well, if he has a sense of community somewhere, but has his own space
Yeah.
like that would be amazing.
That is what we were talking about before the podcast when I was sharing with you sort of
Hmm.
the passion that I have to really take a like dent into generational poverty is exactly
Hmm.
what you just said. Our system, kids go to school, they learn the things, they do what they're taught to do, they go get a job, they try to put money in a 401k, what have you. But the reality is that job, a lot of times loyalty does not benefit the employee
Right.
because
Right.
they might be getting a 3% merit increase a year while inflation, cost of living goes up 6 to 8% a year. Now they
Exactly.
get to retirement and they need Social Security in order to make it. And then, oh, by the way, if he wanted to go out and get like a job of some sort, he can only make so much, or they take that away from him.
Exactly. Exactly. Which is so wild. So wild. It's infuriating, actually.
It is.
But mhm. So it's in our hands if we can do something about it and create an impact or create a solution
Mhm.
that I know that would benefit so many people out there. I mean, and it's not just those of the retired age. It's like the aged out foster youth, you know,
Right.
um, mothers that are just trying to get back on their feet. Because I remember that too when my parents got divorced and my mom was just trying to get a 1 bedroom apartment, had barely anything in it. And but I also know then things weren't as crazy expensive as they are now. But I know that it was difficult for her own, you know, one job income, trying to
Right.
just, hey, like, I have crackers in the pantry for you if you want some saltines as a snack, like just trying to, like, there should be solutions. And right now there's not, because even in trying to find my dad housing, that was a big eye-opening thing of the lottery system that there is, one, when it comes to the vouchers and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
like Denton County is completely locked up for like 3 years. Dallas County, I think, depending on the area, there's some that are open and available, but you're also at the mercy of this lottery system and how many people are doing that. And it's just, that was a big eye opening. Like, there is a shortage of housing for these people that are needing assistance.
Yeah.
I mean, and then on the other side, it's who's getting the assistance that maybe doesn't fully need it compared,
Yeah.
there's multiple sides to it.
Well, you clearly broke that generational cycle.
Hmm.
What was different for you, Z? I mean, if you think about what you're describing now for your dad
Hmm.
is not going to be the
Right.
outcome when you're at that same age. What was
Hmm.
different for you?
I think, I mean, just that, like seeing it, witnessing it, witnessing the difficulty, and wanting to make sure that that was something that, hey, this is in my control. Like, I don't want to continue this. I don't want to, you know, I firmly believe that our parents do the best that they can with
Of
what they have.
course.
Like,
Yeah.
that's something, that's a reality. Like, I lived a happy childhood. But as an adult, looking back on, and I had everything that I needed.
Sure.
I never lacked food or on our table or anything like that. I had always clothes for school. But as an adult, looking back, it was this, my parents were living paycheck to paycheck. I don't want that. And I think for me, I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit, that it's like, I don't do well working for others, because as soon as I would realize that the supervisor that I worked for cared less about the company mission than I did, was
Yeah.
like, oh gosh, like that's deflating. Like, so it was, okay, well, I got to do something. So I've done like little contracting things, like helping small businesses get organized. That was a business that I had a while back, my commercial photography stuff, and
Yeah.
then landing here. Um, it's just, it wasn't gonna be that way. It was like, it stopped here. And I
Yeah.
want to teach my sons, that there's, the only thing that's limiting you is your effort. Like, I want them to learn and know that, you work hard, or you do the things that you need to do.
Yeah.
Anything is achievable, you know and I want them to learn that. And I want it to be that we can look in our life, in our lineage of our family, that things did stop here, and that
Yeah.
we were able to change it for the better. um, because one thing I didn't mention is, like, now that my dad is retired, he does like site supervisor stuff for us. And, like,
Okay.
going back to, kind of circling back to the woodworking, and him always being,
Yeah.
he gets to be on these projects where we walk in and it's just concrete slab and steel structure, and sees the project go from, we get in there, build the walls, to like the project, like we just wrapped up a big church, and he's walking through those halls like, this was our company did this, like, that's
Yeah.
real cool. And so it's, and he'll tell me, that he's so proud, and of the change, of the things that we've built. And I tell him, well, I'm here because of all the things that you instilled. And I tell my mom the same thing.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Oh, look at that. You're gonna make me cry. Okay.
Aw.
Now, A3 Creative Partners, what's the goal of A3 Creative Partners? You said you kind of shared how it
Mhm.
came to be a vision.
Yeah.
What does it do?
We are mainly, like, so for the active side, the fix and flips, that's what
Mhm.
we're building up to starting to do that right
Okay.
now. And that's gonna be, yes, it's gonna help us with the building of the real estate business, but it's also to keep our teams, like I mentioned, keep them busy in between projects,
Yeah.
so they kind of know that guaranteed money income is coming to them.
Right.
um and yeah, and long term, get to a place where, we've housed and found affordable housing and created affordable housing for 5,000 people,
Yeah.
or families. Like, that's a big mission and goal. Whether it's through, affordable, like, creating rental spaces, co-living, And then just, even my focus even on flips. And then we're actually in the process and in talks of finding some infill lots to create some small 3-2 starter homes, like start developing some just ground up so that it becomes more attainable for
Yeah.
people to get their first home, because right now that's the difficulty. I think more people rent because the dream and the aspiration to own something of your own is so far out there. Almost like, for some, just it feels like, hey, I'm going to give up on that dream and we'll just rent for the rest of forever. Like, I'd like to create something that, like, I don't want to be, I know some people want to just build luxury houses. I want to build houses that get people in there that get to walk in and say, this is ours. This is ours,
Yeah.
and this is where we get to raise our family and live, and it's stability for us.
Yeah. The Now the mission you mentioned as far as to help house 5,000. What does that number represent?
That's a Mount Everest number, honestly. Like, that's one of just like like and it sounds woo woo, or just like, oh, she doesn't know, but it's I'm not worried about the how. I know that in doing and taking the steps and doing it with the purpose and the passion and living by our core values, that number is going to get achieved. Like, I know that, but it's a big, big number, because why, that's our big, hairy, audacious goal. Like, why not have it? Is it attainable?
Yeah.
And I know it's attainable, because 6 years ago, I didn't think where things are at now was attainable. Like, it's wild to be talking, and projecting the revenue and things. And Jen often says, I heard you on that phone call. Did you imagine 6 or 7 years ago that you'd be having a call renewing our insurance at X million dollars or whatever because it needs to cover XYZ? I'm like, I didn't. And that's so wild, but I'm so grateful. Like,
Yeah.
everything is just, and so that's why it's like, it's not this calculated number of this is what got me to 5,000. This is here, and
Right.
we're here, but you got to start somewhere. And I heard this from another OC member, and I love this decision making kind of thing of like, what's the best outcome if you do it, and what's the worst outcome if you do it? What's the worst out or best outcome if you don't do it, and what's the worst outcome if you don't do it? Did I say
Mm.
that right?
Yeah.
Best, and if you measure those kinds of things, it's just like, okay, that's easy, because best outcome, if things go well, like, how awesome would it be to look back or have a conversation with you and be like, Tanya, we hit it. We hit 5,000
Yeah.
families. Um, and if we don't hit 5,000, 2,500 isn't horrible, like, it's not, but yeah.
One of the things that you've mentioned throughout the interview that I think we should touch on is you mentioned having a business coach.
Mhm.
You've mentioned owners club, right? Which is people always ask me what it is. I'm like, it's a mastermind group. We own businesses together, right? It's and I hate to call it mastermind because clearly Pace says it's not mastermind, but you've made investments, right, into
Mhm.
yourself through coaching and owners club and those sort of things. What kind of impact do you think doing that has had from where you were before you were doing that to where you sit now?
Well, with my business coach, that's one of those that, like, I didn't go to college. So I don't have like a business degree or anything like that. Like, I graduated high school, I did some college, but I remember at one point, I think it was end of year one, like when we hit that 1.2 million,
Yeah.
it was trying to convincing our business partners the benefit of having a business coach. And I remember telling them at the time, yes, we're here, and this is so great. What a blessing to be here. But how do we ensure that we are equipped to keep it scaling, and not that year two was this fluke year or off
Yeah.
year of like, oh, this is awesome growth, but like year three is what's the actual trajectory growth of what would have been a trailing after
Yeah.
year one year kind of thing. And just saying, I have I've brought us this far, and having the right coaching and direction, because through the coaching program that we're in, they specifically work with contractors,
Okay.
like in construction companies, and scaling to help deploy the capital into development and real estate side of stuff and value add, multifamily, all that kind of stuff. So it was like we need the help. We need the systems and the processes that to help us ensure to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And then on the owners club side of things, I think it's the biggest value has been just being in the room with other, like you said, I mean, it's owners, other people that are doing the thing, doing
Yeah.
the thing, that are driven, that are holding you to that high standard, that are holding your feet to the fire, calling you out, when need in like in the supportive ways.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like there's so much. Like somebody told me once when I said, "Yeah, I have a business coach," they're like, "I can't believe you said that out loud." I'm like, "Well, why? Like this isn't like I don't know everything, and if the goal is to for myself to improve 1% every day, why wouldn't I invest in somebody that's going to help take me to the next level?"
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like so much benefit. Highly recommend.
I was about to say, so you get a mentor moment for people watching. I can tell you oftentimes when I visit with people in general and they haven't used a coach, they aren't in any sort of community or mastermind, whatever. There's two main things I hear them say. Uh, I can't afford it, right?
Hmm.
Or it's too much money.
Hmm.
So, what would you say to people with your experience? Because you have invested in yourself and put
Yeah,
yourself in different rooms. How would you respond to them? I can't afford it, or it's too much money.
there is so much free resources out there.
Yeah.
So many, like this podcast, like when you have other owners and entrepreneurs and people that are really just
Yeah.
trying to make it count, make it happen, make things happen, like tap into that stuff, find books, Dan Martell, Traction. If it's hey, I don't have time for a business coach, read Traction. That is this, like, oh my gosh, like right there, right off the bat. But there's so much out there
Right.
that saying because I don't have the money or it's too much money, and that's where the buck stops with you. I think a call out moment is just saying that's a bad excuse to say that you're not willing to do. Just quick Google search and see what comes up. There's so many podcasts, so many free things out on YouTube alone,
Yeah.
um, that it's just so valuable.
Yeah. So that's such a good call. We've gone a little over on time. So as we're wrapping up,
Mhm.
if when your kids are grown, they have a vision of what you've built, what is it you would want them to say in talking about the legacy that you've created?
She did all of this and didn't miss a moment of our childhood,
Oh, yeah.
because none of it, for me, if
Yeah.
I 10 years down the road, we have an amazing construction company, but I've missed out on my children's lives, children's childhoods. None
Yeah.
of it's worth it.
Yeah.
None of it. None of it. And if I wake up tomorrow and it's more important to do the work than to spend the time with them and steal away that 30 minutes, hour of just come sit with me, mommy, like that kind of stuff. Everything needs to just kind of, like, I need to reorganize some stuff. And I want them to always know that she did all that, and anybody is capable of doing all that. She worked hard, but she did not compromise family for it.
Love it. All right. Thank you so much, Z. For
Thank you,
all
Tanya.
those watching, we will see you all next week. And you can find Z at what's the website? Go Contracting?
Go-contracting.com.
You got it. All right. Have a good one, everyone. I gotta hit this little button over here. Hold on. Bloody hell. You're stuck with it. Look at Z's like, get me out.